as stewards of our resources. I'll probably get a question about it, but you know, parks, the park. So they get a piece of landlocked property up in the Buttes that they can't manage, but they will manage so that it manages us, right? It controls us. And I had some victories this year in the budget because I spent a lot of time in the committee. And we've actually put a little bit of a rope around Parks and Rec to limit them acquiring property that they cannot justify, that they can maintain and take care of. We don't need to be doing that. Now, frankly, that's, again, a minor victory. We slowed the train down a little bit. The battle in the Buttes is not over with yet, though. And let me tell you, the parks are not good neighbors. Ask my friends up in Del Norte County, whose dairy is overrun by tule elk, eating all the grass that is the sole feed of that dairy. Ask the folks up in the Buttes who are chasing the hogs all over the place. Now, we've just had some constructive meetings in my office with the Director of Parks and Rec, which wasn't quite as good a meeting with him, I mean his attitude, and with the Director of the Department of Fish and Game, who had a little bit better attitude about managing some things. But you know, you let this go wild. That's not good. And when you have land where you do not manage it, as our forests, think those and think parks, what does happen? The accumulation of what?
Fuel.
Fuel. And that makes really, really big fires. Well, we can't do anything about that. Now, this is another part of the story. Remember the fire tax?
Yeah.
Well, we have not got from all of us yet enough firestorm across the state of California to do anything about it. I carried bills the last 3 years to do that. Ted Gaines carried it this year because I had not yet been sworn in, so he got in line ahead of me and put in the bill that got defeated also this year. But we have conclusively, irrefutably proven, and I have, by example, in committees this year, shown that it is not for prevention. This money is not for prevention. What has it been used for? To collect more tax and to enforce litigation against a landowner on whose property a fire started so the state could go after them to get recovery. And we're not just talking about Sierra Pacific folks. We're talking somebody that owns 500 acres, 1,000 acres, 250 acres. They're coming. Fire starts on your land, they're going to say, well, here's the bill. And by the way, it's just not the inconvenience of the firefighters out there. You know, you killed 14 wolves or whatever. Well, we've only got one wolf running around now, thank gosh. And he left. By the way, I'm working a deal with the Director of the Department of Fish and Game to deport those wolves. I'm not kidding. I really suggested that. And there's some hope that might happen. Swear to guys. See, don't you have victory? Isn't that great? I got a victory. He's considering deporting an errant wolf.
Yeah, but they can still vote.
You know, isn't that kind of sad? Wouldn't you like to have a real victory some of the time, something satiric as funny as that? But, okay, so we're talking about that, and I'm just hammering away at the department. And so we actually get some language that says you've got to clean up some of this fuel. But a colleague of mine, this was a three-person budget subcommittee on resources, she offers an amendment that says, well, you can clean up the chaparral everywhere but down on the south coast. They've had some pretty big fires down there. And she was actually evacuated, she said, quivering about it. But her amendment says, down there, you cannot clear up chaparral and other foliage. Now, what does other foliage mean? Well, folks, that just means anything else other than chaparral, as I read it. And the only place you can even clean that up is on a road that's in or out of the property where they have to get out and escape. So as she proffered that amendment, I asked the director, I said, is that good fire practice? The only thing you clean is the egress road? Is that going to solve the problem? I mean, you get a big fire going all that chaparral that you cannot clean up. It's not going to pause much at that road. Is that right, Mr. Pimlock? Well, I didn't want, I said, I'm not going to put you on the spot. You do not have to answer. I will answer for you. That ain't going to work. And member so-and-so, Senator so-and-so, you had to evacuate. And now you're putting forth an amendment that is going to put your property yet again at risk because that fuel is not going to be cleaned up. And I said, but I want to thank you very much. You are helping immeasurably the Howard Jarvis lawsuit against the fire tax. Because you have just, again, conclusively proven this is not about prevention, it is about more money for government. And that's all the heck it is for. Now, it's frustrating. And as I say, we have our victories. But here's our challenge. That's why I'm always so pleased to come here and see so many faces. Or to be in Reading. Or up in Lookout. My father-in-law lives. Got 50 Tea Party folks up there last time I went up. And Lookout. You're still here. And we Howard Jarvis believers and Paul Gann believers are still here. 35 years later, we're still a voice. I got a letter from Howard Jarvis taxpayers right here opposing that silly ACA that I was telling you about. The 55% vote threshold. And we win a few of them. But folks, I put it in an analogy of sports. I played football and was a track guy. I say, you know, if you're not out on the field, you're never going to make a touchdown. And you're never going to stop anybody else from making a touchdown. So I want to be out on the field. And that's what you are doing. Coming to these meetings as regularly as you do, doing the different rallies, coming to Sacramento, voicing your concerns with your red shirts while we contend with the many more numerous purple shirts called the SCIU. You know, when they come, they put huge tents up on either side of the Capitol that fill up the whole lawn. Takes them about 6 hours to get all those tents up. Yeah, they come out in force, and they pack the hallways. The Highway Patrol has to go through and clean the hallways out. The fire marshal, because they pack them in so very much. They are the ones who are the takers. And lastly, before we entertain some questions, I'll scare you even further. And this is another victory. A member had a bill that prohibited private hospitals in certain areas if they had a county hospital. So you couldn't have a private hospital. Well, even her Democratic colleagues could not go along with her on that and suggested some amendments, like a mild, well, let's just study this thing a while, which is a polite way to kill a colleague's bill. No. And one of them said, and he was a very powerful leader of the Democrats, he said, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Kaiser. You're stopping Kaiser, too. You know what she got all torqued? She said, this is about profit. We can't have profit. That's why. We can't have profit. That's bad. We can't have profit. I will not accept any amendments to my bill. So she went down on the flaming sword of ideological purity about hating profit. Thank God she did, that she lost. But that shows how strongly she held. And she goes around bragging when she introduced herself, I'm a social worker. Now, I think it's pretty cool saying I'm a farmer. I like that. And I'm glad she's proud of being a social worker. But, you know, being a farmer is not the only thing I've ever done in my life. And I love being a farmer. But going around and bragging, and I'm a social worker. Well, okay. You are a social worker mentality. That's what you are indeed, okay? But to hate, to disdain private property, to hate disdaining profit, what have we come to? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 1984. Now let's have some questions from y'all. That's when I learned something. I teach myself once in a while, and some things I do listen to myself, and sometimes I come up with something pretty good that I learn from. But most of the time I don't. I'm just talking. I want to hear from you. Then I learn. Yes, sir.
Okay, what do you suggest that we, the people, should do when they're passing all this crap on us?
What?
Should we obey those laws?
Do what?
Should we obey those laws?
Hell no. Well, you know, I don't advocate civil disobedience, okay? I think that we ultimately have the power, the citizens. Go ahead, sir.
What about all the criminals that you were just talking about?
Yeah, they don't.
They got more guts than us.
Well, no, they actually
They
almost.
don't obey any of the laws.
That's right. And the guns, I say, hey, you're not taking the guns away from the bad guys. You're empowering the bad guys. They're taking our guns. In fact, one of these stupid bills says if you, the gun owner, don't report the doggone thing within 48 hours, the gun that was stolen, you might go to prison yourself. Wow.
So?
What do you do?
How stupid is that?
It is stupid. But what do you do about it? That's the question, right?
Should we obey that kind of law? Personally, I can't do it.
Well,
with all good conscience.
And I respect you for that, okay? I'm not going to go around saying disobey the law, okay? What I am going to say is change the law and stop the passage of the laws. And how do you do it? You're doing it tonight, folks, all around California. There are groups like you, aren't there, all over this state. They're standing up.
Now, we go down to a rally at the Capitol, and it seems almost pointless. Because, I mean, we've been down there many times.
Sure you have.
And it's like, it's not getting any traction. We're not making any waves. They look at us with disdain. You can watch them walk out of there.
Oh,
Your colleagues, and they look down on us like we're idiots.
But, sir, I will tell you, it may not be as significant a victory as you would expect, that you're doing what you're doing, that you're here, that you're calling, you're sending letters, that you come down to the Sacramento State Capitol. But I can tell you there are Democrats who are looking over their shoulders, and they know you're out there. Now, some will fight you because they're in such 80% Democrat districts, they're never going to get unelected by being a giver and a giver and a taker and a taker. But there are others who've got to get a little bit nervous about it, and as I've demonstrated to you tonight with examples, we have our victories. So keep it up. And you don't need to be working on Jim Nielsen or Doug LaMalfa around here. You need to be working on people around the state that you know, including your own family, saying, go talk to your legislator from Santa Barbara. You live in Santa Barbara. Go talk to that legislator down there and say, you know, getting rid of Chaparral might just save your home. And mine. Yeah. You're doing exactly what you should do, sir.
Do they have ears to hear? Do you really believe they
Some of them do. That one I just gave an example about profit, no. None. Way in the back of the blue shirt.
Yeah, Mr. Nielsen, I was wondering what they're doing about the situation now where we have undocumented workers that came into this country to pick the crops, and now they're going down to Lowe's and Home Depot, and they're being hired out under the table with income from all of these contractors. Has anybody taken care of, you know, repairing that? Because that's where our money's going. They're not hiring American workers, they're hiring foreign workers, and they're paying them under the table without taxing.
Well, that's kind of caught up in a far broader debate of immigration reform. As a farmer, I can tell you, I go back to the Bracero program, which preceded the guest worker program. And well, you asked them, the peach farmers around here. Where's the man I was just talking to here a little bit ago? Peach, there, right?
Oh, it's right there.
There you go. Yeah.
You're in the front.
There we are. John, peach farmer, okay? John and I were talking about the lack of folks to harvest. You name the crop. Now, alfalfa we're getting by okay, and cattle business we're doing okay. But the crops that are labor intense, real labor intense, don't have the folks. I'm telling him a story, I gotta give you a laugh. This is like 35 years ago, and I'm a ranch foreman on a 33,000 acre farm, and I had a really good tractor driver. This is during the tail end of the Great Society, and before Reagan. changed a few things. And this top-notch tractor driver comes to me and said, "Hey boss, I'm gonna quit. I gotta quit. I gotta quit." "Well, why do you have to quit?" "Well," he says, "government's gonna send me to school, trade school, and they're gonna give me a loan to get a mortgage to buy a house." "Oh," I said, "well," I said, "I don't think I can compete with that deal. What are they gonna teach you to do?" "Drive a tractor." Now, you know, that is so dang funny, but that's what welfare has become. And that's why we tried to change it, and that's what the Democrats are rolling back now. Yes, ma'am.
I don't mean to pick on this gentleman here, but I'm not speaking for immigration reform or against it, one way or the other. But this is the problem we have. We go, why don't they have to pay taxes? We all can see that our taxes are not going where they're supposed to be. So the correct question to ask is, why am I having to pay those taxes?
And they don't.
And another thing here I see, you talk about the Tea Party. I want to see more chaos with Tea Party, not letting legislators bring us around the nose, put a pacifier in our mouth. Okay, we don't want big government, but then we go get a 5013C. Franchise right under that big government. That's my question.
Well, I don't follow the question, though. What do you mean we get a 501c3?
Okay, we don't agree with this big government, but then we just include ourselves right in with it.
Oh, okay.
They're-
The entities forming 501c3s, right? That's what your question. Well, some of them form that from the standpoint of tax benefits, to be able to accomplish what is a good purpose. So I just won't downplay that, because there are a lot of good purposes for 501c3s. However, what's happened to the 501c3s right now, right? Getting picked on a bit, aren't they? By what? Big Brother. Big Brother. Right next to you.
I was invited down here by one of your members to talk about the courts.
The courts.
The courts have collapsed.
I agree.
And, we have a real problem with, one, innocent people going to jail that shouldn't go to jail. And a lot of them are grayer and grayer that haven't committed crimes yet are in jail. And
Yeah, no. I don't think that that's so, that they're in.
I'm here for Ron and Don, who now are sitting in federal prison. Matter of fact, there's a man up in Redding, California, who's sitting in federal prison because he collected rainwater on his own property.
Okay, well, there may be, but he is awaiting prosecution or is serving time?
He's in jail, he's serving time.
Serving time. Okay, well, I don't know anything about that situation, okay?
If I may continue.
Well, please do. I just wanted to get in context.
Yes. The courts are doing terrible things like not showing up for trial, and then when you show up and do what's called a non-prosecutor, when the DA doesn't show up, you file a non-prosecutor. It's the reverse. When you don't show up, they file an FTA. And then they continue the case.
And defense attorneys get continuance of cases too. With impunity, they get them. In fact, there's legislation to cut some of that nonsense down.
If I may.
Yes.
The courts are not obeying their own law. And I'm going in front of Dan Loeb right now to institutionalize the district courts. We need First Amendment rights of redress of grievances, and we're not getting it. For instance, I have a case in front of a court right now with the Franchise Tax Board. They never showed up. When a defendant doesn't show up, in every settled law, he loses. This court is saying, no, they're going to win, and the case is going to be dismissed, even though they haven't shown up.
Well, it's a favorite trait of attorneys to just continue.
These are the judges.
And they grant the continued request. That's on the judges.
There's no request. The judges are becoming the attorney for the other side who didn't appear.
Well,
you
that
can't do
happens.
that.
I agree, that happens sometimes, sir.
Whether it happens or not, it cannot.
You can't do that.
It's illegal. Now, if I'm going to go to jail for going across the sidewalk when I shouldn't, then they shouldn't do illegal things that are well written and settled in the law.
Ever hear of Eric Holder? Forget it.
Yeah, that's Attorney General of the state of the United States.
Exactly.
Well,
From the top
yeah,
down.
it happens,
right.
sir. There's no question that there is injustice in the courts. I have mostly dealt with criminals, and I tell you what, there's not a lot of injustices done to criminals, okay? Now, you might argue that crossing the road or doing whatever is not a criminal act. I don't know about that case. My feeling strongly about what's happened to the courts, right now in California, we have dumped all of these inmates and parolees on the courts. And what I was the head of, the parole board, now there's 58 of them in California, and your county superior courts are the parole board for most inmates and parolees. They are not equipped to deal with that. Now what has previously been an administrative proceeding and very economic and based on preponderance of evidence alone, not beyond reasonable doubt, for a parole violator, now everybody's got attorneys, and these courts are not going to handle it.
Mr. Nielsen, that's a different subject. What I'm talking to is the operational parameters of the court have collapsed. They are not obeying their own laws, and you, as a legislature, have a duty when one branch of government gets out of alignment. You've got to get up and you got to kick ass, and I don't see it.
Well, then you don't know Jim Nielsen, sir, for the last 40 years. If you want to work with me on this particular project, I don't say I'll agree with you. I don't know about the case. I'll listen to it, okay?
I have Dan Logue right now, and I've given him all the information.
Okay,
I know
fine,
he's not
now.
going to do nothing. I'm coming after you next.
You
Then I'm going to McClellan.
whoa.
Then I'm going to McClellan.
People don't come after me, sir. You can come and communicate with me. You do not come after me,
Sir,
okay?
you don't know me.
Okay, well then you doing all the coming after you can. I've had the worst criminals that you can talk about coming after me. So go for it if that's your attitude.
Well, malfeasance-
That's not going to solve your problem, though.
Malfeasance isn't going to solve the problem.
Okay, well, I'm not going to discuss that with you anymore. Now, you know what you can do. You can come and communicate with me your specific case. Now, what do you have over here?
Would it help us if we got more Tea Party in the legislators? I mean,
Sure it would, absolutely. And you know, she brought up a great point. Would it be helpful to get more Tea Party in the legislature? Or more people who are sympathetic to the Tea Party? Or to Howard Jarvis taxpayers? You bloody well bet. Now, how do you do that? You groom and encourage your own to run for local office. You help them get elected. You help them learn about government. You help them be successful in their job serving you and articulating your point of view. You bet. Absolutely. That takes courage to stand up and be counted. Let me tell you, I'm going to write a book about it sometime called The Splendid Loneliness of Leadership. It's a tough, bloody job, and you pay a price. And this ACLU votes know when you wake up in the morning. But it's a noble calling, and we need to do it. Yes, sir.
You were just talking about not having any help to pick the crops and do things. What's so wrong with getting all those that are incarcerated for crimes to give back to the community by having them be out there and do the work that...
They got their rights.
Oh, but you know, you brought something up. I was just preparing to debate this very day about 6 hours ago. It didn't come up, but I'll probably be debating it next week. Because of all these inmates being dumped on our counties, now there's a bill on the floor of the state senate right now that says the county supervisors can delegate to a person who is administrator of the jail. And they can make a determination to put somebody on a work project. Put some inmate on, just what you're talking about, right? So instead of staying in the jail, they can go into the employment. However, they can't be put in any job where there's a labor dispute going on locally. They have to get paid prevailing wage.
$50 an hour.
No,
There you go.
I'm looking at that this very day, and I'm highlighting with my little yellow pencil.
So the days of the old chain gangs are gone and they can't give back, because you've got all this stuff out there needing to be picked. You got people we're paying for to sit in jail. Put them to work.
Well, let me say, there's another aspect to this. Now, they don't get paid prevailing wage. But now, you know, the fire camps. We have a lot of inmates in fire camps. These historically have been level 1, level 2, arguably decent risks, okay? not rehabilitated, not gonna be, not criminals anymore, but decent risk. Well, there ain't any of them left anymore. So what do we have now? And I just had a meeting in my office 2 weeks ago with a whole bunch of key parole agents on this very thing on the fire camps. Now we've got level 3s and level 4s. And what is flowing into the fire camps, firefighting equipment? Well, some, but methamphetamine, steroids, free flowing into the, no, so you got the most dangerous people, now you've got the most dangerous mean drug that you can put in somebody's body in the fire camps, and you're handing them Pulaskis and pickaxes and shovels. Wow. The least thing they're going to do is run away.
1 or 2 people watching.
And the assaults are going up in the camps as we speak. So here's kind of the irony. So even when you're putting somebody out there to work, and they don't get prevailing wage, and it's not about a labor dispute, but they're dangerous, and they're closer to us. Does that give you comfort? They're going to put out fire? I think that scares me more. I'd take my chances with what fire folks we've got. It's kind of a lunatic world, right? But you help make the sense of it. It's your job. Yeah, ma'am, you were.
Yeah, completely different thought. I believe it's SB 660, which is the education bill for career technology education.
Career tech.
Yeah, that is before the Senate. The Education Committee apparently approved it and sent it back.
Yeah.
What is the status of it? Because if we can't train our kids
Well,
to have a trade,
oh.
whether they go on further or not, we've got to be able to train our future.
Have you heard of Bill Cornelius, your county superintendent?
Mm-hmm.
Randy Page up here?
Yep.
I have been in regular communication with them for years on this very subject. I'm the original author of SB 187, which was some 35 years ago, protected vocational agricultural education, of which I am a product. In fact, I just got inducted into the Blue and Gold FFA Hall of Fame 3 weeks ago because of what I've done for Voc Ed, not just Voc Ag Ed. Now, let's just skip forward, and I won't tell you all the in-between positive steps we've achieved. But in that bill, in the budget, and that bill I voted for. Didn't vote for the budget, didn't vote for almost all of the other budget bills, but that one I did. And that protects career tech education in ways never before. Why the other categorical programs, we've given the counties even more latitude and ability to decide who they serve and how they serve it. And the superintendents for the reforms we put in 3 years ago, and I'm the vice chairman of budget, so I played a big role in it. They said that saved us, having that flexibility with all these other categoricals. But in these tough times, our local jurisdictions would wipe out Voc Ed. In fact, one of the rural counties I used to represent, I had to go down and raise heck with them, that you will not do that. You won't take to the school board in Vacaville, California, you will not get rid of Voc Ag Ed. And you can't because it's in the Ed's code, SB 1-87. But here's something that did happen, and I debated this. After 40-some years of scorning career tech, that you were in a Voc track, you're the dumb kid. Now we respect it, and finally that bill has affirmed that we respect career tech. And I've, in addition to that, challenged CSU and UC, who still do not get it, that they should embrace the career tech students. Why? Because, well, those not the smart kids. We don't want them in college. Oh, that's a career person. I said, no, CSU, I'm beating them up with it all the time. You ought to be embracing those. Now, some will get into the career, and they're happy. That's all they want to do. Wonderful. Good careers. But some are going to want to do more. They're going to get inspired. Where do they go to get the training to do that? You, CSU and UC. Get rid of your intellectual arrogance and embrace career tech. Thank you for asking. That is dear to my heart.
One of my students is the one that testified before that committee.
Oh, well, I listened to him, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so it could make a huge difference throughout the state as to what our future is.
Well, that's, ladies and gentlemen, one big victory we have had for career tech education. And in education, we don't have many victories, let me tell you. They're trying to ruin charter schools every day. Yes, sir.
What's the amount of money that was delegated or assigned to that for voc education?
Oh, man.
I guess what does it come down to for ADA?
I don't remember the ADA, but 300 million comes to mind. It really will protect it, though.
And I'm not really familiar with the bill, but at what grade level does that start?
That's high school.
So it'd be 9 through 12. So any consideration?
Well, that matriculates through community college, too.
Yeah, the skills necessary really for those kids starts much earlier.
Oh,
than that,
absolutely.
I'm sure you know, like in the 7th grade. So my curiosity, and I haven't read the bill, and I'll go back. Was it signed by the governor?
Not yet, but he will sign it, because it's part of the budget. It's both in the budget and in a separate bill.
And do you foresee this to be the beginning of more of these types of voc ed programs going forward for California kids?
The answer is, I think, a cautious yes. And why do I say cautious? Because there's going to be a lot of pushback competition for whatever money's available for education. But I will say this is a huge affirmation of the importance of career tech ed. Huge. And it is a statutory protection of career tech ed that we have lacked before, except for my little one bill, voc ed, SB 187. So it's a real tectonic shift.
Well, the concern I have is that since voc ed has been attacked and decimated since the early 1990s, that the dropout rate has absolutely skyrocketed in this state as a result of lack of these types of programs. And I applaud you for standing up, especially for ag and everything like that. And you're like the only person in this storm who's doing anything about this for our kids. And if we continue on the path that we have been continuing on, this state will continue to usher out any kind of machine jobs or any kind of jobs like it's just that
we do not have the skilled people.
The redistribution of our wealth is just going to continue.
Amen.
So,
well, you should be satisfied. This is a significant, in this kind of generally bleak year, this is going to be one of the capstones for me, this accomplishment. And to be able to sit in those committees and articulate and debate and fight for that, and then have